does it take for your feedback to be well received? In this video, I'll be sharing with you 3 tips on how to encourage and motivate your listener. Focus on the future, not on the past. Solutions sound better than problems. By focusing on the past, you end up stuck in the problem. If you focus on the future, you prepare the mind for change and solutions. For example, instead of saying, "You did not meet the deadline," we can say, "I really want to see you meet the deadline the next time." Or, "I felt you weren't committed fully into this." We could say, "I would like to see you fully committed in this the next time." In other words, the past emphasizes what is missing, while the future focuses on what can be added. By focusing on the future, you invite the listener to open the door of change and consider alternatives. So, encourage your listener the next time by telling him or her what you'd like to see happen in the future. Marshall Rosenberg, psychologist and creator of the nonviolent communication process, used to say, "It's difficult to do a don't." Instead of telling people what not to do, ask them what you would like. Instead of saying, "Don't worry about this," which is hard to do, say, "Hey, listen, here are 3 things you could focus on." In other words, instead of asking people to do less of something, ask them to do more of what you would like to see. Instead of saying, "You could micromanage less," say, "You could delegate more." Negative statements and statements that ask people to do less limit their actions, and that does not encourage them to change. But affirmative statements that tell us to do more stimulate our growth. Encourage your listener by asking them to do more, not less. Obliterate obligation. The verbs must and should, as well as have to, ought to, need to, are poisonous for constructive feedback. And they're poisonous because they are all verbs of obligation. Obligation means no choice. Now, who feels encouraged to change when they're forced to? You have to go on a diet. You should work less. Obligation kills motivation. Career analyst Dan Pink, in his TED Talk, explains that one of the top intrinsic motivators is autonomy. The urge to direct our own lives. Yes, Braveheart, freedom! If you want to encourage your listener, you want to use verbs that relate to their capability and their choice. And those are the verbs of can and want. So instead of saying, "You should speak slower," we can say, "You could or can speak slower." Or even, "For us to understand you better, you want to speak slower." Get rid of obligation by eliminating the verbs must, should, and have to, and speak to the capability and choice of your listener using the verbs want and can. And there you have it, 3 tips to encourage your listener in your constructive feedback. Number 1, speak to the future. Number 2, ask them to do more, not less. And finally, encourage them with the verbs can and want.